Hello everyone, today I wanted to share with you my top 10 favorite 007 video games. Now this list is going to greatly differ from yours out there, greatly, especially if you're an N64 fan or a diehard 007 fan. Again, this isn't a ranking of the best 007 games, but my personal favorite 007 games. So if you have a different list of your favorites, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I can't wait to read them all. And yeah, here we go. Starting off at number 10 is 007 Legends. 007 Legends was one of those games that I was highly anticipating, getting to play previous 007 films, but it disappointed me. This game felt like it was unfinished, and it was way, way too short. There is a cool premise of it starting with Skyfall, him getting shot and having to relive all the previous 007 films. The mistake they made was having Daniel Craig in all of the films, even Goldfinger, where stuff is recreated just like the film. And it disappointed me that they did that because it would have been a cool opportunity for you to play as each Bond. You could play as Dalton, Moore, Brosnan. It would have been cool to do that. But we have Goldfinger, and I like the stuff there, the fight with Oddjob. Then you have On Her Majesty's Secret Service, my personal favorite level. License to Kill. Die Another Day is cool, but it makes me mad. Besides it not being Pierce Brosnan, we also have somebody who's Jinx that's not a Halle Berry. Maybe there's likeness, but that's not Jinx. I'm sorry, that's Jinx. Halle Berry's Jinx, and I'm mad that they made her look completely different. I mean, it might as well be a different game when you get everything else so much like the film. Anyways, I like some of the first-person shooter action. It is a bit difficult on the License to Kill level. I like the DLC with Skyfall, but that's it. It's just 4 or 5 levels, and it's so disappointingly short. I'm like, this is it? They really could have gone all out on this game and brought the best of previous first-person shooters. Nevertheless, it's a fun game, and sadly, the last time we got to see Bond in a video game. After that, at number 9 is Quantum of Solace. I really love Quantum of Solace. It mixes first-person shooter action with third-person shooter. Now, I'm talking about the PS3 version because there's like a whole third-person shooter PS2 version, but it's really mostly Casino Royale. It's like Casino Royale with Quantum of Solace. You get to play as the Casino Royale parts and flashbacks, and I love that. I love the start with Mr. White. Everything following the movie, the stuff in Vienna was great. The Opera House. And it was mostly first-person shooter action, but you could fight with third-person shooter. It wasn't like the little fight system they had in Legends, no. This is actually a very well-done game from Activision that brought a lot of fun and something different. The best of both worlds from the first-person shooter, third-person shooter, 007s. And yeah, it followed the movie. It was one of the better movie adaptations, to say the least. After that, at number 8 is Goldeneye Reloaded. Now, this game gets a lot of flack because it's not Goldeneye N64 in many people's eyes. It recreated it quite well while doing something different, and I do wish we had Pierce Brosnan, but I love Daniel Craig in this. It's a first-person shooter, so it doesn't bother me that much. I love that opening and the new rendition of Goldeneye, Revenge is a kiss, this time I won't miss. I love that lyric. And the whole opening. It feels very much more like a Call of Duty game, though. It does get a bit tedious. The AI is a bit challenging in a frustrating way. But I like how you can choose a more direct approach. Shoot first, ask questions later, or you can go more stealth with the different gadgets. And that was interesting. But the last level with the boss is just ludicrous. It's hard. The guy has 9 lives. I mean, how many people do you have to face off? You have low ammo, you have to face a helicopter. Like, it's just so frustrating. That last level and the laser beam, oh my god. You pretty much have to rush it and time it just right, but it's just frustrating. Like, damn, it doesn't need to be that hard. I don't remember it being like that in the N64. I don't remember it being like that in the damn movie. It's just insane. Despite some of the setbacks, I do think it's a very underrated game that should get a second look. It gets a lot of flack because it's not the original GoldenEye, but it's a reimagining. It's a reloaded game. After that, at number 7 is GoldenEye Rogue Agent. This game was one of my favorite games on the PS2. I love playing with the Jackal guns. Those 2 pistols were my favorite weapon, but yeah, you're a rogue agent. I remember the trailer where he keys James Bond's car. That was awesome, but it's not the GoldenEye weapon. It's an actual GoldenEye. Yeah, they cashed in, but it's an interesting premise that you play a rogue agent and you get to work with villains. You're trying to go after Dr. No who took your eye. You're working for Goldfinger. There's the man with the golden gun, Scaramanga. Pussy Galore, like all these different characters are here, and it's cool you working with Spectre. You basically killing James Bond at the beginning. Although it's like a virtual reality test, which is a bummer because it really set a precedent at the beginning by pulling a ballsy move. Like, holy shit, he just killed James Bond. This game was very fun, but it was ultimately a missed opportunity, I feel. I want to see this premise brought onto modern consoles because I think they can do it better now, given with the gameplay mechanics and story. Nevertheless, I always thought Rogue Agent reminded me of like if Timothy Dalton's James Bond turned bad. Like, look at Timothy Dalton and Chuck, and then get GoldenEye Rogue Agent, there's your movie. Get him back in a movie as a GoldenEye Rogue Agent. I would love that. Unfortunately, it has a cliffhanger end for a sequel that we never got, but I like the gunplay. You know, it has some cool weapons. It's one of the better first-person shooters for the PS2, and definitely 007. And again, because it's not GoldenEye N64, it's dismissed. This is underrated. Not the best first-person shooter, not the best Bond game, but definitely an enjoyable one if you're a diehard fan and want a different take with villains. After that, at number 6 is GoldenEye N64. Now, before everybody just jumps on me, this is probably one of the best, if not the best, 007 game. I don't want to be mistaken for saying this is a bad game. It's just not among my favorites, and part of it is because I haven't played it fully. I never owned an N64. I wanted an N64, but I got a PlayStation instead. So I was a PlayStation kid growing up, and I played some stuff on the PC. This needs to be remembered for revolutionizing first-person shooters. And I have played GoldenEye. I played at a friend's house. The multiplayer was great, playing as Oddjob and different characters. Freaking Grace Jones from View to a Kill. I love that stuff. That stuff was amazing. The gameplay, it follows the story of GoldenEye. And yeah, they try to do one of those realistic graphics where now it comes across as like the early Tomb Raider games, you know? But I love it for that, with the dam, that whole mission. You don't have an aimer. You do have an aimer. It's like a crosshair you can have, but you have to get used to the controls. Nevertheless, though, aiming, it has a certain ebb and flow to it that other first-person shooters don't have. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you felt unstoppable. You felt like James Bond going through the corridors and stuff, opening bathroom stalls. Things like that were really revolutionary for the time. Now, this wasn't the only first-person shooter, granted. I played Quake a year before on the PC. That game is awesome. You had Doom. And then another N64 game that I feel is highly underrated is Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark and Time Splitters 2 on the PlayStation 2, I think, took the mechanics that were set up in this game and perfected them. But GoldenEye needs to be remembered for creating a precedent for first-person shooters. Without this game, the first-person shooter climate, Call of Duty, the 007 games would not exist without this revolutionary game. And because of that, it needs to be remembered for being one of the best. But I didn't own an N64, so I don't have nostalgic memories like other people. Now, that's not to deny that it's a good game. It is. I don't want to have this at number 6 and people think I think it's a horrible game. No, it's a fantastic game that I think deserves a remaster. You know, all we have is N64 consoles or emulators, and we need a remaster of this, a true remaster. But for the time, it was a revolutionary game that influenced so many others in the genre within this type of format. And yeah, if you haven't played GoldenEye and you're a 007 fan, do yourself a favor and play it. But I just don't have those memories with it. I wanted to, it's probably my number 2 or 1 as the best, but I'd be lying to you if I say I liked it better than some of the other ones that are going to be on my list. For my favorite, this isn't my best or what I consider the best games, but my personal favorite. So I just want to let that out, open in the clear before I continue. But let me know your memories of GoldenEye 007, times with friends, characters you like to play in multiplayer, things like that. But definitely, I don't want people to forget about this game and just realize how revolutionary it was, because it's easy to dismiss this game now that you have so many advances in technology. But for the time, it was groundbreaking, and I think it needs to be respected for that. But I just don't have the nostalgia goggles. After that, at number 5 for me is Bloodstone. I love 007 Bloodstone. This feels like a Daniel Craig film that's in between Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. I love it with the third-player action. Probably my favorite third-person James Bond since From Russia with Love and Everything or Nothing. I love that opening. The story is a bit weak in parts, but I love it. I love the whole Quantum of Solace Casino Royale vibe. The whole boat chase is great. And yeah, you can choose different modes where you can just go have some cover, heal, or wear body armor. Body armor makes it more fun, but I love it. The car chases at times are a bit tedious. Some drive better than others. Like the old Aston Martin's great, but it drives horrible. It skids and it's just hard. But I like the story of you finding these other people in this kind of blood diamond exchange. You know, there's betrayal, there's double crosses, there's you on this quest having people killed and stuff, going and trying to find who's behind this stuff going on. And it has a wonderful prologue. Judi Dench is back as M. And I like the different stuff there, talking with other arms dealers and everything like that, foot chases. This has all the action you need from a 007 video game. And it's definitely probably my favorite one from the Daniel Craig era of video games. It hasn't been as good as Bronson's era, but I love this game for the Daniel Craig 007. It's one of my favorite ones. After that, at number 4 is From Russia with Love. Now, this game I was aware of, but I did not play till like 2013. Yeah, I'm ashamed. I got it at a garage sale, and I'm like, I've always wanted to play that. You know what makes this cool? Pierce Brosnan was dropped as Bond. We didn't have Daniel Craig yet, so they needed another Bond. We had Goldeneye Rogue Agent, and then we had From Russia with Love that brought back Sean Connery. Now, you can definitely tell he's aged a bit, but I love that you get to play as the original OG James Bond. The jetpack level, that whole opening is just fantastic. I mean, when you hear this...
Who are you?
The name is Bond. James Bond.
That's James Bond, you know? And it had that third player action that Everything or Nothing had, but it was in the 60s, and I love that with the Aston Martin, everything. How they recreate the movie yet add their own embellishments to From Russia with Love. And it's interesting that they chose From Russia with Love. It wasn't Thunderball, it wasn't Goldfinger, wasn't any of the others. But I like it, you know. There's a lot to work with the story, the villains, the allies, love interests. It goes all out. And this is one of my favorite 007 games, man. This is one of the few where you feel like James Bond, you're indestructible, and it's not first-person shooter, and you get to play as the original Bond, voiced by the original Bond. I mean, how much better can you get? This is like an extension of a film, you know? I love From Russia with Love. Definitely, if you love James Bond, play this game. It is awesome, and it's great that Sean Connery went out on this for his last James Bond role. After that, at number 3 is 007 Agent Under Fire. This game is a lot of fun. I actually recently played this game, and I'm ashamed because if I played it when it came out in 2001 or 2, I think I would have freaking loved it. But it is a different Bond. It's not exactly Dalton, it's not Bronson, it's not Roger Moore. It looks like Roger Moore, so it's like an amalgam of all the different Bonds, an original story. It is a bit kind of cheesy and hokey with like clones and stuff, but I love the gameplay of this. You have to get used to it, kind of like GoldenEye. You have to get used to the controls and looking around, but it has like auto aim, which again adds to the ebb and flow like GoldenEye with a first-person shooter. The driving is fantastic. I was wondering why I was able to drive so well. I'm like, it's the Need for Speed developers, so like it's so smooth. It's fun. This game is just fun on every level. Now, the later levels, like the oil rig, do get a bit challenging, to say the least, but I love it. I love the sniping. I love the crouching, hiding around, doing different objectives, you having to find armor. The gadgets, whether it's like the laser, whether it's like the little UV goggles, the little grapple on his watch, so many crazy gadgets. This is just a complete 007 experience, and it actually holds up pretty well for being an early PS2 game. It was originally supposed to be a The World Is Not Enough adaptation, and they scrapped it and made it an original game for the PS2. You can definitely tell there's some influences from World's Not Enough in this, of like who was supposed to be who on the characters. This is fantastic and a great way to start this generation of 007 games. After that, at number 2 is 007 Nightfire. This is a follow-up to Agent Under Fire, and we finally have Pierce Brosnan's likeness. Although it's not his voice, it's his likeness, it's a sequel. This is more difficult, and at times it's not as fun as Agent Under Fire, but I have to say I love it. This is pretty much a modern reimagining of Moonraker. There's so many influences from Moonraker in this video game. It has an epic story, whether it's you saving this woman at the beginning, and there's tragedy, there's double crosses that make you feel for James Bond, you know. This has every single type of moment you want from a James Bond film, but the gadgets are great. Having stealth, the different weapons, things like that, like you basically infiltrating this place where there's like this party going on and it's like the snow. I mean, it's totally like a spy thriller. It really is. I love that. You go into the base, going into these offices, hacking with like this Q virus thing, man. And then you have Agent Nightshade from the previous game, so it's pretty cool how you have these different agents and characters. And then finally, that last battle in space is totally like Moonraker and just amazing. I love it. Also, the intro is great with Nearly Civilized, such a great song. This is one of the better James Bond games, and I think it's an underrated video game, one of my personal favorites. Nightfire is one of my favorite first-person shooter James Bonds. After that, at number 1, for me, my personal favorite is 007 Everything or Nothing. This is the ultimate James Bond experience and my favorite third-person shooter James Bond. This, to me, is Pierce Brosnan's last Bond film. This deserved to be its own film, the 5th film. It really did. William Dafoe is awesome as the villain, and he's the protege of Max Zorin. That's right, Christopher Walken from A View to a Kill. I love that line where Bond's is like,
Diavolo's Control, his teacher, was Max Zorin.
Yes, we once played bridge together. He lost.
I love that. Even though it's Roger Moore as Pierce Brosnan continuing, then you have Shannon Elizabeth and Heidi Klum as the Bond girls, and I love that. Good and bad Bond girls, the Q gadgets, you know, you have John Cleese there, Judi Dench back at Zim. The Q Spider is great. Man, there's so many things. The Vanquish was my favorite car. I love that from Die Another Day. And seeing that in Everything or Nothing. And the whole plot of like these nuclear arms and nanites, like that's just so advanced for back then. There's so many other films even in the future kind of had the same similar plot, like G.I. Joe with nanites and other stuff. Like it's almost a similar plot. This was so cutting edge for 007, yet had all the exciting moments. The prologue is totally like 007. That whole freaking Everything or Nothing theme song by Maya was a 007 logo. And Pierce Brosnan provided his own voice. The actors actually had their likeness and voice to this game, and it felt like a movie, an interactive movie. And to me, this does deserve to be canon, and this is how I want to see Pierce Brosnan's Bond go out. They should even do this again, remake this, or even have a film with an older Bond and bring these characters back to live action. I would love seeing that, kind of like how they did Never Say Never Again with Sean Connery, even though that wasn't an official Eon production. I would love to see it. That is my favorite James Bond game out of all of them, and I want to see something like that next time they make a game. It's been too long, but we'll have to see what the future holds for 007 and gaming. So that's it for my ranking. Feel free to share your personal favorite ranking of 007 games down below in the comments. I want to read them. I want to see a lot of GoldenEye N64, Nightfire, Everything or Nothing, or maybe something different. Let me know your favorites down below. You can also follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic, and subscribe and check out these other videos for more content. Check out my ranking of the 007 films. And yeah, till next time, everyone.